I love beauty products. I love makeup. I love clothes.
I always marvel at how much women love Sofia Vergara.
It's great because you know exactly what you like, what looks good on you, what doesn't look good on you.
What's great about Sofia is that she exceeded everybody's expectations.
Imagine the turquoise waves of Barranquilla rolling endlessly, sunlight striking against a young girl's hair as a local camera crew urges her to smile for a Pepsi commercial. She is 17, nervous yet luminous, unaware that this fleeting image will mark the first page of a script that stretches far beyond Colombia's shores. Now shift the scene. The same woman, decades later, sits beneath the blinding lights of America's Got Talent. Sequins shimmer on her gown as she slams the golden buzzer, showering the stage in glittering confetti. The audience erupts, not just for the performer she rewards, but for her. Sofia Vergara, the immigrant who turned an accent once mocked into an anthem, who bent the stereotype into a crown. Her path did not climb in a straight line. It twisted like a spiral, carrying her from the beaches of Barranquilla to the studios of Univision, from a Pepsi commercial to the living rooms of America through Modern Family, and finally to the gilded stage of America's Got Talent, where she now rules as judge. The very accent once dismissed as a barrier became her weapon, her signature, her crown, turning skepticism into applause and contracts into empires. A voice that critics claimed would hold her back instead carried her to the summit of television and business. So how did Sofia Vergara bend the weight of stereotypes and rewrite the American dream with nothing less than laughter itself? In today's episode, we explore the remarkable ascent of Sofia Vergara, a Colombian immigrant who transformed an accent once deemed a weakness into her greatest strength. From Univision stages to Modern Family fame and the judge's chair on America's Got Talent, she redefined comedy, business, and the immigrant dream. Before she became a household name in America, Sofia Vergara was simply La Toti, a nickname whispered through the sun-drenched streets of Barranquilla. Born in 1972 into a large Catholic family, she grew up surrounded by the lush contradictions of Colombia's Caribbean coast, dazzling beaches and vibrant carnivals on one side, turbulence and violence lurking on the other. Her father bred cattle. Her mother kept the home alive with warmth and discipline. The young Sofia was expected to follow a conventional path: education, marriage, children. But destiny placed a different script in her hands. At 17, fate arrived disguised as the Pepsi commercial. A talent scout spotted her on the beach, and within weeks, her face appeared across Latin America. The commercial's success opened doors to modeling and television work, though Sofia initially resisted, enrolling instead in dentistry school. For nearly 3 years, she studied to become a dentist, dutifully memorizing anatomy while photographers kept calling. Finally, the pull of the camera proved irresistible. She left dentistry behind, stepping fully into the world of entertainment. In the 1990s, she became a host on Spanish-language programs for Univision, including the travel show Fuera de Serie. Audiences adored her charisma, her quick wit, and the sparkle in her heavily accented English. Yet even as her career blossomed, tragedy shadowed her. In 1998, her older brother Rafael was murdered during Colombia's wave of kidnappings and cartel violence. The event shattered her family and forced a reckoning. For Sofia, the choice was clear: remain in a country riddled with danger, or carve a new life elsewhere. With her young son Manolo in tow, she left Colombia for Miami. The move was not glamorous but necessary, an escape as much as an opportunity. She carried 2 suitcases, one filled with clothes, the other with ambition. Miami offered sunshine but little certainty. Jobs were scarce. English was still a hurdle, and bills loomed larger than dreams. Yet Sofia possessed something more durable than luck, an ability to turn vulnerability into presence. She took whatever work came, small modeling gigs, TV hosting, commercials, while raising Manolo as a single mother. Behind the camera lights was a woman constantly calculating, learning the codes of a new culture, mastering not only comedic timing, but also the arithmetic of survival. What she lacked in perfect English, she made up for with charisma. The very accent that marked her as other became part of her persona, setting her apart in a crowded industry. By the late 1990s, she co-founded Latin World Entertainment, an agency designed to help Latin talent navigate Hollywood's labyrinth. It was both shield and sword, protection from exploitation, and a tool to amplify voices often dismissed. Sofia was not just chasing auditions, she was building infrastructure. That decision, quiet, strategic, unglamorous, would later prove as vital as any role she ever played. From Barranquilla's beaches to Univision's cameras, from personal tragedy to entrepreneurial foresight, her backstory is not simply one of survival. It is the foundation of a woman who would learn to weaponize laughter, turn stereotypes into strategy, and eventually make America laugh on her own terms. Every immigrant story has a moment when survival collides with destiny, and for Sofia Vergara, it arrived in two sharp jolts. The first came in 1994 when she co-founded Latin World Entertainment. On the surface, it was just another business venture, but in reality, it was a declaration of independence. By creating an agency devoted to managing Latin talent, she seized control of her own image and future. No longer would she be just a face for hire, she would be the architect of her brand. It was an audacious move for a young single mother still learning the intricacies of American culture. Yet it revealed her instinct for strategy. Protect the dream before it can be taken away. The second jolt struck far closer to the bone. In 2000, doctors diagnosed her with thyroid cancer. For many, such a verdict would have ended ambition. But Sofia approached it with the same discipline that carried her from Barranquilla to Miami. Surgery and treatment scarred her body, yet sharpened her resolve. "I can't control fate," she once reflected, "but I can control my discipline." In facing mortality, she discovered a steeliness that laughter alone could not supply. Together, these two events, the creation of an empire in miniature and the confrontation with her own fragility, ignited a transformation. Sofia was no longer merely an entertainer chasing roles. She was a strategist and survivor, prepared to turn every limitation, even illness, into leverage. From this point on, her career would no longer drift. It would accelerate. Hollywood is not a neutral stage. It is a mirror with biases etched into its glass. When Sofia first began auditioning in Los Angeles, casting directors often dismissed her before the script even left her hands. Her Colombian accent, thick and musical, was treated like an error to be corrected. "Can you say it without the accent?" they would ask, as though stripping away her voice would make her more American. For years, she lost roles not because she lacked talent, but because she sounded too much like herself. Yet Sofia understood something the room did not. What they saw as flaw, she could turn into signature. The breakthrough came with Modern Family in 2009. As Gloria Pritchett, she was everything Hollywood thought it didn't want: fiery, loud, unapologetically Latina. And yet audiences adored her. Gloria wasn't a stereotype, but a satire of stereotypes, crafted with precision comedic timing. Sofia exaggerated her accent, leaned into the mispronunciations, and turned them into punchlines that carried an undercurrent of pride. 4 Emmy nominations followed. The accent, once treated as a barrier, became her crown jewel, an audible brand recognized in every living room across America. The irony was almost poetic. The very thing that nearly barred her from Hollywood became the key that unlocked it. Sofia had bent the stereotype until it bowed before her. If Modern Family gave her fame, Latin World Entertainment, LWE, gave her power. Behind every television appearance, every endorsement deal, there was a business infrastructure Sofia had built years earlier. While other actors negotiated contracts alone, Sofia signed them through a company she co-owned, ensuring both revenue and equity remained in her hands. The strategy paid dividends. By the early 2010s, Sofia became one of the highest-paid actresses in television, topping Forbes lists year after year. But the wealth was not simply about luxury, it was leverage. She invested in fashion lines, fragrance brands, and endorsement deals that stretched from Pepsi to CoverGirl. Each move multiplied her visibility beyond Hollywood, planting her firmly in the territory of mogul. For a Colombian immigrant once typecast as the exotic neighbor, this was more than success. It was reclamation. Sofia had built a fortress of contracts and trademarks around her persona. She wasn't just Gloria on Modern Family. She was the CEO of herself. And in doing so, she redefined what it meant for a Latina in Hollywood, not merely to perform, but to own. Fame magnifies contradictions. Sofia's Gloria was beloved, but some critics questioned whether the role reinforced cliches of Latina women: loud, sensual, tempestuous. To some, it felt like caricature. To others, celebration. Sofia walked a tightrope: how to make people laugh without flattening her culture. Her answer was subtle but consistent. Off-screen, she advocated for Latin talent, using LWE to push projects by and for Hispanic communities. She mentored young actors navigating the same barriers she once faced. And she leaned into her role as a mother, often appearing with Manolo in interviews, framing herself not as the fiery stereotype, but as a disciplined matriarch who understood sacrifice. This duality, on-screen comedian, off-screen strategist, allowed her to disarm critics. If people are laughing with me, not at me, then I am doing my job, she explained. Her laughter was not self-deprecating, but self-owning, transforming ridicule into resonance. By embodying Gloria with affection and irony, she revealed how comedy could be both mirror and critique. In this, Sofia carried more than her own career. She carried the weight of representation, knowing that for millions of Americans, she was the first Latina woman they saw every week in prime time. She made the stereotype visible only to dismantle it, one laugh at a time. When Modern Family ended in 2020 after 11 seasons, many wondered if Sofia's reign would fade with it. Instead, she pivoted. That same year, she joined the judges panel of America's Got Talent, stepping into a role that showcased her wit in unscripted bursts. No longer Gloria, she was simply Sofia, warm, sharp, decisive. The golden buzzer became her new stage, proof she could command live television as effortlessly as sitcom. But Sofia was not content to remain the queen of comedy alone. In 2024, she stunned audiences with Griselda, a Netflix limited series in which she portrayed cartel leader Griselda Blanco. Gone was the bubbly cadence, replaced by a cold menace that earned critical acclaim and award nominations. The risk was immense. Audiences knew her as Gloria, not as a ruthless matriarch of crime. Yet the gamble paid off. Griselda demonstrated that Sofia could pivot genres, carrying the gravity of drama with the same conviction she once carried punchlines. This reinvention was not just artistic, but existential. Having conquered comedy, Sofia proved she could dismantle the box Hollywood had built around her. The final test of her career was not whether she could make people laugh, but whether she could make them forget the laughter long enough to feel the weight of silence. The lights dim, and a new Sofia emerges. On Modern Family, she was the spark that ignited laughter. In Griselda, she became the shadow that swallowed it whole. Viewers who once delighted in Gloria's mispronunciations now sat in stunned silence as Sofia, draped in gray power suits and steely resolve, commanded the screen as Griselda Blanco. Every glance, every pause, every controlled flick of her cigarette was a reminder that she could carry menace as convincingly as she once carried humor. The contrast was electric. On one side of the cultural stage, she sat beneath a rain of golden confetti on America's Got Talent, pressing the buzzer with childlike joy, gifting dreams to hopeful performers. On the other, she was the merciless queenpin of Miami's drug empire, orchestrating violence with chilling calm. Two Sofias, two extremes bound by a single thread. Absolute control. In this duality lay her true triumph. Comedy had made her beloved, but drama proved her formidable. By stepping into Griselda, Sofia shattered the final cage Hollywood had built for her. She was no longer just the funny Latina, no longer merely the queen of sitcoms. She was an actress of range and depth, a woman who had conquered both laughter and silence. The immigrant who once arrived with 2 suitcases now carried the weight of entire genres in her hands. When the applause for Griselda settled into critical acclaim, Sofia Vergara stood at a crossroads not of survival, but of legacy. She had proven her comedic genius and silenced doubts about her dramatic weight, yet her influence stretched far beyond the screen. For over a decade, Forbes listed her among the highest-paid women in television, a testament not only to her star power, but also to the business acumen she had sharpened with Latin world entertainment. She had rewritten the rules of celebrity by pairing artistry with strategy. Offstage, she continued to wield her platform with deliberate care. Her public acknowledgement of thyroid cancer and her ongoing advocacy for awareness around the disease positioned her as more than an entertainer. She was a survivor who offered her story as warning and hope. Each appearance, whether on the red carpet or a talk show, carried an undercurrent of discipline. The reminder that health and resilience were the true currencies of longevity. Her accent, once treated as an obstacle, had become an anthem recognizable across continents. For millions of immigrants, Sofia was proof that difference could be turned into destiny. And for her son, Manolo, now grown, she remained the image of persistence. A woman who had built an empire without ever discarding her roots. The laughter continued, but it was no longer just about jokes. It was about endurance, representation, and the unshakable force of a woman who refused to be scripted by anyone but herself. From Barranquilla's beaches to Hollywood's billboards, Sofia Vergara's journey reads like a myth written in sequence and discipline. She began as a teenager who stumbled into a Pepsi commercial, a young mother who fled Colombia's violence with little more than 2 suitcases, and transformed into a global icon who redefined what power looks like when spoken with an accent. Her empire is measured not only in syndication rights and Forbes rankings, but also in the cultural doors she pushed open. Through Modern Family, she made America laugh with her difference. Through Griselda, she made it reckon with her depth. Latin world entertainment remains a blueprint for artists who wish to own their image rather than surrender it. And her advocacy for health and representation continues to remind audiences that true influence extends off-screen. Yet perhaps the most enduring part of her legacy lies in the contradiction she embodies. The immigrant who turned rejection into resonance, the woman who balanced motherhood with moguldom, the actress who conquered both sitcom laughter and dramatic silence. She showed that an accent is not a cage, but a calling card, and that laughter, when wielded with intelligence, can become a weapon sharper than prejudice. Sofia Vergara did not just become America's comedy queen. She became its proof that the immigrant dream can be rewritten in high heels, golden confetti, and the unwavering cadence of a Colombian voice that refused to disappear. And now we want to hear from you. What moment in Sofia's journey inspired you most? Share your thoughts in the comments below.